Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lang Academy. In our last episode, we talked about why New York City is called the Big Apple. Today, we are going to stay in New York, but we are going to travel even further back in time. We are going to a time when there were no yellow taxis, no tall skyscrapers, and no Central Park. In fact, we are going to a time when the city was not even called New York. Long before the British arrived, this famous city belonged to the Netherlands. It was a Dutch colonial town, and its official name was New Amsterdam. Today, we will discover how a small Dutch trading post grew into a giant city, and how Dutch history is still hidden in the streets of New York. So, let's begin our historical journey. Our story starts in the year 1609. A Dutch company hired an English explorer named Henry Hudson to find a new water route to Asia. Instead of Asia, Hudson sailed into a large river in North America. Today, we call this the Hudson River. He discovered a beautiful island covered in trees and green hills. The native people, the Lenape, called this island Mannahatta, which means island of many hills. The Dutch realized that this was a perfect place for business. The area was full of wild animals, especially beavers. In Europe, beaver fur was extremely expensive because people used it to make fashionable hats. In 1624, the Dutch West India Company sent the first settlers to live there. 2 years later, a man named Peter Minuit became the leader of the colony. He did something very famous. He met with the local native leaders and bought the entire island of Manhattan. According to historical stories, he paid for the island using trade goods like blankets, knives, and beads. The value of these goods was worth about $24 at the time. The Dutch built a small fort at the southern tip of the island to protect their business. They named the new town New Amsterdam, after the capital city of their home country. Life in New Amsterdam was very busy and very international. It was a place for business, trade, and freedom. People from many different countries came to live there, and history tells us that 18 different languages were spoken in the small town. The Dutch wanted to make the town look like Holland. They built traditional Dutch houses with brick roofs. They even dug canals through the streets. To protect the town from attacks, the citizens built a large wooden wall made of thick logs. This wall stood at the northern edge of the town. Later, the town grew, and the wall was taken down. But the path next to the wall became a street. Today, that street is the center of world finance. We know it as Wall Street. The Dutch also had a main country road that led out of the town into the forests. In Dutch, they called it Breedweg, which means wide road. When the English arrived, they translated this name directly into English. That is how the most famous theater street in the world got its name, Broadway. New Amsterdam was a successful city, but it had a very strict governor named Peter Stuyvesant. He had a wooden leg and a very strong personality. He helped organize the city, built the first pier, and created the first post office. But the people did not like his strict rules. In 1664, the golden era of the Dutch colony came to a sudden end. King Charles II of England decided that he wanted to control the entire east coast of North America. Governor Peter Stuyvesant was furious. He wanted to fight the British. He wanted to defend New Amsterdam. But the citizens of the town refused to fight. They looked at the big British warships and knew they could not win. They also did not want their houses and businesses to be destroyed in a war. So, New Amsterdam surrendered without a single shot being fired. The Dutch flag was lowered, and the British flag was raised. The King of England gave the colony to his brother, James, who held the title of the Duke of York. To honor the Duke, the British changed the name of the city from New Amsterdam to New York. Even though the name changed, the Dutch roots of the city could not be erased. When you visit New York today, you are walking through old Dutch history. Many of the famous neighborhoods in New York are named after Dutch towns. For example, Brooklyn comes from the Dutch town of Breukelen. Harlem is named after the city of Harlem in the Netherlands. Flushing comes from Vlissingen, and Staten Island was named after the Dutch Parliament, the Staten Generaal. Even the iconic American symbol, Santa Claus, comes from Sinterklaas, a traditional Dutch winter holiday figure that the settlers brought to America. So, the next time you see a movie about New York, remember that this global metropolis began as a small Dutch village called New Amsterdam. Before we finish, let's check a few interesting words from today's story. Explorer means a person who travels to find new places. Fur is the thick hair that covers the bodies of some animals. Settler means a person who goes to live in a new, colonial land. Surrender means to stop fighting and admit that you have lost. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Slow English Podcast. Do you know any other cities that changed their names in history? Let me know in the comments below. Have a wonderful day, keep learning, and see you next time. Bye bye.